Boston is not a small market necessarily, but they're in a situation with that number one pick in the draft where they can add another part there, and who knows, maybe come up with a super team of their own through the draft. Or would you suggest that Danny Ainge trade that pick to go get somebody like a Jimmy Butler or a Paul George or a Gordon Hayward, whoever might be available?
Well, I would weigh weigh my options and look what's out there in the trade market. At the trade deadline, they had conversations about this draft pick, and at the time, everyone said it's the potential number one pick, but they didn't know if it would be number one. Now that you know it's number one pick, I think it's easier to trade it, and it has more value. So they're going to go shop it. They're going to see what they can get for it. But if it were me, I would draft Markelle Fultz out of Washington. I think he's the best player in the draft, hands down, and I think he has superstar potential. And like you said, building through the draft, it really can work. And I think not only does Fultz have star potential, I think he could be a guy that helps in year one because he's that talented. I think he can work with Isaiah Thomas. Thomas is really good playing off the ball, whereas Fultz can have the ball in his hands and distribute and score that way. So I really do think that it can work. I would definitely pick Markelle Fultz, unless there was some trade out there that just blew you away. You could get a Jimmy Butler or a Paul George, but the problem with that is that team really good enough to beat Golden State or Cleveland? I'm still not sure they are, even with Isaiah Thomas and Al Horford and Jimmy Butler, and not much around them because you're going to have to make trades and sign guys. I think I'd rather go with Fultz on a short, a smaller contract since he's a rookie, and then maybe get a decade of a point guard that could be very special.
So you're saying that with Fultz, they are good enough to beat the Cavaliers?
I think they could be in a year or two.
Wow.
He's going to be developing, but Fultz is a very special player. I think he's one of the best guard prospects to come into the NBA in a very long time. I'm that confident in Fultz. He's a great scorer right now, a very good distributor, and he's only 19 years old. He just turned 19, so he's still very young. So you rarely see that combination of youth and untapped potential, but then also the ability to make an impact right away. And I think Fultz is that. So I think, it allows them to compete with Cleveland, and it also opens up their championship window because they're going to have, a decade of Markelle Fultz, and then they could try to put pieces around him too. So, you still have Isaiah Thomas, you still have Al Horford in their prime, but it doesn't necessarily close the window when those guys are, done playing or on their next contract.